the most common example we hear about would be the husband like physically abusing the wife. But I think more and more times now it's like inclusive of verbal abuse as well.
It could be anything from physical violence or sexual assault, or it could be even just someone messaging you all the time to see where you are and what you're doing, and constantly like emotionally manipulating you to do things.
Physical abuse, like hitting and violence. Definitely bad.
I think it's bad, and I think it's an issue that largely affects women more so than men. But men can be domestically abused, but I think it's proportionally more women get domestically abused.
I think domestic abuse is wrong.
I think it's a really serious issue. It's not very much talked about, but there is a lot of domestic abuse that's happening around the world.
I think they also think it's wrong, but they don't. There isn't enough attention put on it now.
I think society is more aware of domestic abuse in recent years, and it is largely covered in media, but there is no policy, I think, at the moment to help people get out of domestic relationships.
I guess because in general society wouldn't really care much, especially coming from an Asian society, we don't really care much about the house affairs of others.
I think any form of physical abuse also incorporates some form of psychological abuse. So in that sense, I think physical is a bit worse. But I think because you can heal from like physical wounds, I think psychological has a worse long-term effect.
I'm not sure. I think they both have very different impacts on a person, and there is some crossover between them, but I think they're both equally as bad as the other.
I think they're both equally important because abuse is still abuse regardless whether it's physical or psychological, and I think any form of abuse is not acceptable.
They come hand to hand, so physical abuse can induce mental abuse, but ultimately I think mental abuse will be much more harsher on the victim, since the trauma carries on towards the end of life, whereas physical abuse, like, you can just heal it.
I think most likely it's because they're too scared to leave the relationship, or because they just have to depend on them for their earnings.
I think it's because they don't have the courage to. They're too used to they're too used to the relationship, and once they're in it, they don't see they're not brave enough to get out of it.
Because they're scared and there isn't the resources there to help them get out with support. There's no support system for them to get out.